From San Diego, California, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage show. Where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call on the HUG hotline at 858-876-5663 or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's show, we're focusing on the power of gratitude to change how you see your spouse and your marriage.
And there's a quote from Dr. Robert Holden that says, "The miracle of gratitude is that it shifts your perception to such an extent that it changes the world you see." Wow. Just like camp on that for a second, that in expressing gratitude, you can actually change the way the world around you looks and how you perceive it. And, you know, we're going to be digging deep into that in today's show, but we start each and every show with a hug. And this week's hug is sponsored by Podium. And the neat thing about Podium is that they're changing the way that businesses and customers communicate. Look to hear a little bit more about them later on in the show. The hug today, it comes from an email that we received, and this wife, I love her story. She says, "I was scrolling through your podcast, looking for something interesting to listen to, and stumbled upon yours."
Right on.
Can't tell you how many people have stumbled upon the One Extraordinary Marriage show. She said, "My husband and I have been married for 14 years, and our marriage has always been good. We love and enjoy each other and would have considered our sex life good. We both have always been able to orgasm during sex, but it's always been the standard in bed at night. Same old position, same old routine."
Been there.
Yeah. After binge listening to your podcast for 2 days, I realized we could really use some spicing up in the bedroom. So I encouraged my husband to listen to you as well. He came home that night, printed off the 19 questions, and began to have the most awkward conversation of our entire marriage.
Now let's go back. They've been married 14 years.
Yes.
So, hey, if you've been married 2, 5, 10, and you're having the awkward conversation with 19 questions, you're not alone.
Some of you may be married 30 or 40 years and still having the awkward conversation with 19 questions. But she goes on to say, "Something amazing happened. We both realized that we are willing to be more adventurous than we have been, and that we're both willing to try things that we were afraid to ask the other about. After that conversation, we had the most amazing night of sex ever. We were both so excited that neither of us slept well that night and kept waking each other up for more. We have a week-long anniversary trip planned this month and are so revved up to try some new things with each other. Thank you. I am so grateful to be able to listen to a Christian couple talk about sex so open and frankly. It has given me the confidence to finally, in all caps, tell my husband what I've been craving but too afraid to ask. And I think the same goes for him."
That's a big high five. Love you guys. Awesome.
It's amazing what happens when you equip yourself with tools to get into those awkward conversations, to be willing to have the awkward conversation, and then to see the breakthrough that comes from hanging in there when it feels really uncomfortable.
You got to do it. Got to do it. And you know what? This is the joy of marriage, I think. At times, it doesn't matter where we're going. We can have breakthrough, and even big ones like this or even smaller ones. We keep building, we keep growing, and sometimes we step a little bit back, and yet we can still step forward.
And I love that, you know, she put the thank you in there to us. And really, you know, with this week being Thanksgiving week, we first and foremost, as we jump into the show, want to give a gigantic, you know, literally our arms around the world, thank you and expression of gratitude to each and every one of you.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the one family, gosh, the show wouldn't be here anymore, I don't think. You guys are truly amazing and why we come here each and every week, because there are lives to be changed. There are marriages to be changed. There's a community to be changed. There are families to be changed. And that is our goal. And our mission is to reach those who need to hear this, no matter where you may be in your marriage, because it is our goal to decrease that divorce rate and have thriving marriages, extraordinary marriages. And we're going to keep on doing it. But we do that because of the one family. And we are thankful for each and every one of you.
And the shows that we do this week, every year, generally, we're talking about what we're grateful for. We're talking about that expression of gratitude. We've done shows over the years where, you know, Tony and I have basically, you know, been behind the mics and we're just rattling off, you know, 5, 7, 10 things that we're grateful for in our marriage. And so we've done that show and we're like, okay, what do we do this year? And this year I've noticed just this kind of theme in conversations and in talking with people that there's very big need to express gratitude. right? People they have it bubbling up inside of them. And so this year we decided, you know what, we're going to do it a little different. Yes, Tony and I are still going to share some of those things that we're grateful for. And like I said, we started sharing just how grateful we are for each and every one of you that listens to the show and shares it. But we also wanted to dig deeper into what gratitude does for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we're like, well, I'm just gonna give, right? I'm gonna give this expression of thanks. I'm gonna say thank you. And it's this outward, right? Instead of also looking at what happens to me when I express gratitude. So we want to share a little bit about what it does for you. We also want to share what the One family is grateful for. We've actually got a top 10 list of the things that the One family is grateful for in their marriage. And we want to share those with you a little bit later in the show, because I think you're going to see yourself in there, and you're going to say, okay, how can I take what I know others in the One family are grateful for and frame that, customize that to being able to express gratitude to my spouse.
Yeah. And I want to talk to the reluctant receiver. The reluctant receiver is someone who sits back and goes, I don't want to take that right now. Do understand what we're sharing. When your spouse is sharing and being grateful and letting you know that how grateful they are for you, you need to receive that message. It is so easy to be like, oh, no, not me. We don't want the limelight on ourselves. Allow your spouse to share that, because we're going to give you these 7 proven benefits that happens when somebody is giving gratitude. And yet at the same time, you need to receive it. And there have been times even for myself, Elisa says something and in my mind, I'm going, no, I'm not worthy or whatever. We have those thoughts. I do too. And instead of speaking of like, no, I don't need, I have to tell myself, I go, I receive that. Mm-hmm. I receive that. Thank you. That's all you got to say. I receive it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And let's talk about those benefits, because I was doing a lot of research for this show and kept seeing the same themes come up with every article that I read about how wonderful expressing gratitude can be for you, the giver of the gratitude, right? The first one is that your relationships are going to be better. I mean, let's just go start big. Mm-hmm. Right? When you get into this place where you're able to express your gratitude, it changes the dynamic between you and your spouse, or maybe, it's expressing gratitude to the waitress at, your favorite barista, or, your kid's teacher, or whoever it may be. You get into that place of expressing gratitude and people are drawn to you. Mm-hmm. It becomes this depth in your relationships. I see it all the time. I mean, my kids know when we go to the grocery store, I'll thank the cashier. I'll actually call them by name and thank them, just for helping us out today or doing whatever. And inevitably it gets a smile.
I think of a lot of times when we're out for dinner on date nights, we'll ask our server their name. We will, because sometimes they don't always have a name tag on, and we'll ask. And I'll say, hey, what was your name? Oh, my name's Amy. Amy, thank you so much for serving us, or thank you so much for being attentive to our needs tonight, or whatever. I mean, it's amazing the smile that comes upon their face. I don't know. There's something about it that there were many years ago that I decided it's like, I'm going to just thank people a lot. And because I just appreciate what they do. And it's amazing how that impacts me, because I do believe I have had better relationships overall with friends and family, pastors, other people in my life. Elisa, obviously, make sure like you better be, be extending gratitude towards your spouse.
Absolutely. The second one is that better physical health, right? When we are expressing gratitude, we're actually, changing what happens inside of us, because we're being more positive, right? We carry, as human beings, enough stress and enough negativity, and we're bombarded with it all day long, right? You just are. Welcome to the world. But when you get into this place of expressing gratitude, it's like taking a dose of positivity, because you're looking for the good, and that radiates and resonates with who you are physiologically.
Just carry the love and the light that's in you. I mean, truly. I mean, you're gonna feel better. And I'm not saying it's all the time, but I definitely know there is sort of the endorphins and everything else that do get kicked off by being grateful. Well,
and that, as you say, you feel better. It does impact your psychological health as well, right? Again, that positivity can, when you're looking for the good, when you're looking for those things that you can express gratitude about, you can really like flush out all the yuck in terms of resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness and those things that we've talked about, over the course of the year, where you're like, no, I'm going to thank, as hard as it is, I'm going to thank this person for the one little thing that I can find to thank them for. Right. And so you get into this place too, where, the next one is you become more empathetic, because when you're choosing to express gratitude, you're not getting so caught up in, well, this isn't working for me. You're like, how can I see this from their point of view? Maybe there's something going on that I'm not aware of. And so I can be empathetic instead of, cranky pants.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like when you have that server and you're like, thanks. It looks like you're really busy tonight. Instead of being like, I can't believe it took so long for my food. You're going to get a much different response with the, hey, I see what's going on here. Thank you for taking care of us in spite of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It changes. It's that whole thing about expressing gratitude changes your perception of the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple, you get better sleep. If you're expressing gratitude and you've got better psychological health and better physical health,
you can have morning sex more often because you're getting better sleep.
He was looking through the list, guys. I wish you could see. He was like looking. He's like, where am I going to work this in? But it's true. If you're sleeping better, you have more energy to give to your spouse.
Or even if you're not having sex, man, you're cuddling and you're enjoying each other. Good cuddle session.
We had
this
a
morning.
good cuddle session.
Yes.
Yeah, before we podcast today. Yeah.
Yep.
And the last one is you have resilience. When you're looking at the world through the eyes of gratitude, it allows you to persevere in those tough times, because you can see the things, even if it's small, you can see the things that you're grateful for in the tough situations. And, these are amazing benefits. Right. And when you hear this list, you're like, well, shoot, I should be expressing gratitude all day long to everybody. And the reality is that we don't. Right. And
I think you missed better self-esteem.
Oh, I did.
Which I think is really important one.
Thank you.
Because when we do express that gratitude, we also experience the increased self-esteem of being able, I think part of it is we have the courage, and we begin to create that courage within us to share with somebody how important they are to us. And I just think of it as a way of us just, being that roaring lion, just being somebody who's willing to stand up and stand out. And even at those times when we may lack it, we still push through it and we still persevere, and we keep running that race to go, you know what? I am gonna let you know. And through that, our self-esteem grows.
Right, because it's an increase in vulnerability.
Correct.
And that confidence that comes from I can express this to you, and it's not dependent on how you receive it, but on what I'm doing. And so sometimes getting into this place of, like, why don't I express gratitude? Well, probably the number one reason we don't express gratitude is because we're too busy running in the rat race of life that we don't actually stop to be aware or be present in what's going on around us.
Right. So one thing is you can set up a system, set up systems in place so that you can do that. We're going to talk more about that, but I'm just already giving you a way, like set up a system. If you're want to make sure that you're expressing gratitude once a week to somebody, make sure you have a stack of cards or a stack of postcards or some way that you're going to get reminded on your phone that you're going to send a text to somebody once a week. Set up the system.
Right. It's creating margin too.
True.
Right? That system only works if you actually give yourself the pause to say, what am I grateful for? I've had coaching clients over the years where I'm like, hey, you need to keep a gratitude journal. Right? I actually just shared this with a couple the other day. I'm like, for the next 30 days, I want you to write down at least one thing a day that you're grateful for in either your spouse or your marriage. Right? I don't care if you're in a bad spot. I still want you to write it down. Why? Because I need you looking for what's good. I need you to be present in the moment instead of just spinning and going all over the place. Another reason why it doesn't happen very often, or why it doesn't happen as much, is because, like Tony said earlier, you may feel unworthy or fearful that if you mention it, that you're going to like jinx it, right? Like if I say something, if I express gratitude that, man, you're cuddling with me, or, I love it when you, bring me flowers. Well, if I say something, maybe they're not going to do it. Right. And so that keeps us.
Yeah, because then it's the oh, she dropped that. She wants flowers. So now
I'm not going to do it.
Well, yeah, because now if I get her flowers, then all this weird stuff starts happening in your heads. Oh gosh, I remember those days. Just Elisa would say something and then I'm like, okay, so now she's just fishing for me to send her flowers or something.
Which wasn't actually happening. Can we talk that
yes.
was your perception, not the reality?
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Yeah, this was my perception totally. So I'm just sharing as we're just talking about that. These things just come to my mind, and I go, oh whoa, that was such a weird perception I had because it wasn't anything Elisa was trying to do. She was just saying, hey, I love flowers. Had I just been wise enough to understand that, hey, make a system. Honestly, you guys, there's a flower shop up in La Costa area here on the coastline, San Diego. Whenever I'm up in that area, I know I just stop by it and I make it down and I make sure to give Elisa some flowers. That it's not every month, it's not every week, it's every few months. Maybe I'm up there and I just go get them.
Absolutely. And it's that system, it's that awareness, it's that ability to put in margin.
Mm-hmm.
And this show actually every year serves as that, that pause, that margin where Tony and I actually do share some of those things that we're grateful for, where we've developed over the years the ability, like Tony said, to be a good receiver,
mm-hmm.
right? To be able to say thank you. And when somebody does express what they're grateful for, the most powerful words that you can say after that are thank you. Or, I'm willing, like Tony said earlier, I'll receive that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're going to share a few. We're not going to make this the whole show because I do want to get to like the One Family's top 10 list,
mm-hmm.
but we do have a couple that we want to share with you guys.
All right. So here's something that I did earlier in the year and I have not kept it up, but it comes great right now. I have a piece in my journal that says I'm grateful for, and it's just the things that I am grateful for. And I'm reading them now. I pulled it out and going, my goodness, I shouldn't have stopped. I got to keep going. But here's one of mine that I wrote. I'm grateful for the beauty you radiate inside and out. You're a loving, caring, and beautiful woman. I'm beyond blessed to have called you my wife for the last 22 years.
Thank you. And I will just say this as an aside, the words of a man over his wife and calling her beautiful. I mean, you guys hear it every time Tony opens the show. Those words are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Those words are powerful. One of the things I realized this past week.
Oh, you giving me a grade?
I am.
Oh, okay, good.
I am. I was transitioning.
Okay.
Tony's like, wait a minute. Where's mine?
Yeah,
where's mine? So recently, Tony and I were having a conversation, and one of the things that I'm grateful for with you is that you've developed the ability to handle correction in our marriage, right? We were having a conversation a few weeks ago and Tony asked for my opinion and I gave it to him and he immediately said, well, no, that's not right. Or I don't agree with that. And I was like, and I just looked at him and I said, here's the thing. If you're going to ask me for my opinion, then I need you to listen to it and actually validate it and not tell me instantaneously that it's wrong. And he sat on it for a minute, kind of digesting, but it was that ability for us to be able to talk about that and to see that shift in our marriage that's been so powerful.
Mm-hmm. I received that, and I'm still work in progress. I'm still a work in progress, and we'll get better. Another one for you. You initiating sex, even though we had sex earlier in the day. What an amazing gift from you. So that was a twofer.
That was obviously a twofer day. That was, that was just one of those things. For me, I know over the years you've developed the ability to spoil me. And that is something that I cherish. It's not like, I get big elaborate gifts, but you find those little ways to just say, hey, you're my beautiful bride. You're my wife. And I love doing, small things and big things for you. And so that is something that means a lot to me.
And I'm grateful for sitting on the couch and watching football. Doesn't matter who's playing. It's great to be by your side.
Oh,
and we do that. We'll watch like the weirdest teams, and all we're doing is just like sitting on the couch. It doesn't matter. We're beside each other, and that's what really matters.
We have been watching college football together since 1994 because the first time that I flew out to Colorado, it was the CU Michigan game.
The Hail Mary.
Hail
that
Mary
silenced the stadium.
Yeah.
Go Buffs.
So funny.
Go Buffs.
Funny. Another thing that I'm grateful for is the fact that you continuously put forth effort with the kids. Our kids are teenagers, and so all that comes with having teenage children and what that looks like. And so the fact that there are days when it's hard parenting teenagers. Those of you that have little kids, it just shifts when they're taller than you and they have bigger problems. And so the fact that you and I can talk about their situations and come to an agreement and parent them together, not have it be a power struggle, is something that's really significant to me.
Yeah.
You gonna do one last one?
One last one. Here's mine. Your loving words. You do love me after all these years, and I am forever grateful.
Right back at ya. Or ditto, I guess I should say.
I'll take it.
And as we've been sharing this, gosh, guys, I can't tell you. I don't know what it sounds like when you hear us talking about ours, but the reality is that you all have things in your marriage that you're grateful for. And we do want to share those things that the one family, kind of the top 10 list of what the one family is grateful for and how you can bring even more gratitude into your marriage. But we want to make sure that we thank this week's sponsor, who's Podium. I mentioned that at the very beginning of the show. And you guys know how busy our lives are. I mean, you really pick up the phone to, call family and friends, and we're almost always texting, because it's faster, right? And same thing happens with the businesses, right? Like if I could just text the businesses that I want to do business with, it just makes my life easier. And business owners, I don't know if you know this, but over 90% of consumers prefer messaging. They want to get the text, and 99% of those text messages get opened.
And, for us, we've been doing this a lot with those that we work with and who serve us in different ways. So one of them is our chiropractor. Nowadays, we don't ever call our chiropractor anymore. All I do is I pick up my phone, I text him, I say, hey, Dr. Matt, what do you have available this week? Give me a date, some times. Boom, he hits me back. Here's what I got, Tony. We pick one and we're on our way. It's sweet, it's simple, and it's easy.
Well, our dentist does the same thing. Hey, Lisa, it's time for your reminder. Here's the date that you've scheduled. Click yes or no to confirm. I'm like, oh, thank you for the reminder. It's on the calendar. Yes, I can confirm, or no, I can't.
And the waxing salon does it as well.
Woohoo. Woohoo. Yeah. Tony loves it when the waxing salon, he sees that pop up on my thing. But it becomes more convenient for everyone, both the consumer and for you as a business. No more playing phone tag or voicemail craziness. It's easy. And so you need to know that conversations that start with convenience as a business owner, those are going to end up in more sales. So go to podium.com/one and you're going to get 10% off your monthly subscription. It's so important to meet your customers where their screens are. So go to podium.com/one to get started and save 10%. So I've kind of been doing this teaser throughout the show about what's so important to the one family and what you all are thankful for. And, this week we asked the question, what are you grateful for in your marriage? And I actually, as I'm putting that out there and sharing it with all of you, I want you to be thinking, if I was going to answer this question, what would I say? Because, it doesn't matter if you write it down in a card and you put it on, the breakfast table, or you put a Post-it note above the coffee pot, or maybe, like the guy last week that said that he shot a video in the hug last week, just expressing to his wife. You can get really creative on how you express each one of these ideas.
Yeah. And if you need to find ideas, Pinterest will probably be your place to go. There are probably tons of ways to create different experiences, I would say, to show your gratitude.
And here's one little, I don't even want to say it's a little, one big thing to know about expressing gratitude. It's so much easier for your spouse or whomever, because maybe you're thinking about, teacher or pastor or, best friend or whoever. It's so much easier for somebody to receive it if it's attached to something specific. Don't just say thank you, because people are like, you're welcome. I have no idea what I'm being thanked for. But if you say thank you for, just like Tony and I were reading our things, thank you for how you handle correction. Thank you for the words that you speak. Thank you for initiating twice in one day. Like those get specific and people
you initiated once that day. We had sex twice that day. Just want to be clear on that one.
Thank you for that correction.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that one.
Okay, I didn't initiate twice. Once. Okay, you guys get the idea.
No, but just be specific with your spouse. Tell them what you're grateful for. Be specific. Don't, it's cool. Hey, Elisa can say, hey, you know what? I'm so grateful for you being an awesome dad. Okay, cool. Well, what did I do that was awesome? In many a times, especially this time of year, we have the kids, their birthdays are between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I take them out for breakfast with dad. And I've been doing it since they were kids. And Elisa will often, thank you so much for taking the time to take the kids out for their birthday breakfast. It's very specific. And I can say, all right, yeah, you're welcome. I want to do that with them. But it's not just like, hey, thanks for being an awesome dad. Oh, okay. I think I'm an awesome dad anyways.
He apparently, there's no shortage of ego in our house. Tony makes those comments and I'm like, I know where our son gets it from.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about you in the one family. The number one thing that you all are thankful for, the number one response that we got was the friendship that you and your spouse have. And that comes through in a lot of different ways. But what does that look like in your marriage? How can you express that to your spouse? What does your friendship dynamic look like? The next thing was laughter. Wow. When I saw that come in at number 2, I was smiling, because the power of laughter, whether you're playing games or whether you're just having fun running on the beach, or you just, get into these giggle fests, or you like to watch funny movies. I mean, I can still hear our son listening to Monsters when he was little, the Monsters movie, and just hear his laugh.
Which would make us laugh.
And, that gift of laughter that cuts through tension, that brings joy, it does so much.
It's truly a blessing. And it's huge when things come at you and you can have a spirit of laughter as a couple and express that to one another. It's huge.
The next one was your communication. And we know, so many people talk about how they listen to the show, or they've picked up tools like the 19 questions like that couple did, in the hug, and see their communication change. And when the two of you really invest in your communication, shifts happen. And it's incredible to see that is something that you are grateful for. The next one was effort. And this came through in a lot of different ways, where people were thankful for the effort to rebuild trust, the effort to make the marriage a priority, all of this effort. Under the umbrella. What are you grateful for in your spouse? What effort have you seen them put forth this year that you want to recognize?
And when you do, again, be specific. Let them know. Express that. And sometimes, you're putting that out there, and you don't know how they're gonna take it. But do know, when you're putting that out there, you are saying, "I love you," in a different way, without saying the words "I love you."
Absolutely. And, piggybacking on effort, and so many people said, I'm grateful for how my spouse makes me feel like a priority. And being able to be really specific about that one, when you express it, I'm so grateful you make me feel like a priority by doing XYZ, fill in the blank. The next one was so grateful for the trust. And in some cases, that response came with rebuilding trust.
Okay.
Where they've been through a season and they've been rebuilding that trust. Some, it's just the fact that they have trust in their marriage and they're not worried about anything. And so, whatever that looks like, be specific.
Yeah, we've set up these we've had our times, and yet this year we sat down and we set up those guardrails. And those guardrails have XYZ. Last week we talked about in-laws. We've talked about, in this past year, we've talked about that the coworker, relationship. You've put that around, and because of that, we're stronger.
One of the last things that people said, and it came up quite a bit, was for my spouse's support. Whether it's job transition, whether it's, bringing babies home, whether it's, dealing with difficult life experiences, health or whatnot, you're so grateful for your spouse's support in whatever area of life. And that support actually led into the next one that people were grateful for, and that's feeling secure, right? Feeling secure in the marriage, feeling secure in who you are and how the two of you relate. And what an amazing gift to feel secure in your marriage.
Well, and if all those other ones are happening, I can see it's sort of like it's a snowball, right? We have the friendship, we have the laughter, the communication, trust, we're supporting each other. All of this allows us to have this sense of security within this beautiful relationship we have as a married couple.
Absolutely. And the last one that folks mentioned quite a bit was the spiritual connection. Whether you pray together, you go to church together, you talk about God together, whatever that looks like for the two of you. And, we've gone through this list, but the thing is that you need to take this list or whatever else popped into your head, because we know that you're having thoughts about what you're grateful for, and you need to express it. Your spouse needs to hear it, and you need to hear yourself say it or write it down or see it, because you're going to change the way that you see your marriage world when you begin and continue to express that gratitude.
Yep. So make it happen this week, you guys. Take a pen to paper, I don't know, paintbrush to canvas, whatever it is you need to do. Take a video, shoot a video, text it to your spouse, whatever it needs to do or be, make it happen. Share that gratitude you have of your spouse, and what they mean to you is going to mean so much as we begin to wind down 2018 and enter into 2019. We love you guys. Have yourself a fantastic Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you next week. Love you guys.